Hello and welcome to episode 8 of the Unqualified Game Chat. I am your host, Azario Lopez, and with me today, my co-host, Spencer, the Legacy.
Hello there. How's it going, everybody?
Hi, Spencer.
Hi.
How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. You know, I've got fun games I've been playing. I've got, my bud here on the podcast. What could I complain about?
I didn't notice this before, but we got this yin and yang thing going on right now.
It's true. It's so true.
Wow.
It's perfect.
I love wearing white clothes, but I am a dirty boy.
Oh,
I'm a nasty boy.
I'm the exact same, so I'm shocked that I'm still wearing this.
Yeah, it's I look pretty good in white.
I bet. I could picture that. I could see that.
Yeah, but one quick walk and a sweat later, and
you're wearing gray,
and I'm wearing brown.
Brown. What kind of sweat you got, dude?
It is not the pretty kind. I feel like I sweat a lot. I feel like I sweat more than anybody around me. And in sports growing up, everything I did, I was sweating all the time. But I look at other people and they don't sweat as much as me. I used to think it was my hair. I used to have really long hair, but cut it, I still sweat a lot.
Still, maybe your body's just too accustomed to it. It's like, no, I'm gonna sweat.
I think it's bad because sometimes if I'm gonna like work out hard one day, I just won't drink too much water the day before, and I stopped doing that. But that would stop me from not sweating so much the next day. But I started getting really tired, and I was like,
I imagine
I'm not gonna do this anymore.
If I dehydrate myself, I can't sweat. That's the alpha.
Yeah. If I don't drink water, there's nothing to come out of my body.
Just blood starts coming out.
Spencer, as you know, this podcast is recorded every week and posted to podcast services, Spotify, Apple, YouTube on Thursdays. On Noisy Pixel and Monster Mind.
On Monster Mind every Thursday.
We've
never missed.
I like to highlight that episode 8 means that we're solid 2 months in.
That's wild.
That's
2 months.
That's like when the relationship is probably gonna go 6 months.
Yeah.
Like if you're in a relationship for 2 months, you can go 6 months. It might end after that. But
things are starting to fall into place.
Yeah. I've never been in a relationship for less than 2 months or more than 6 months. There's no in between, like there's no breakups between 2 and 6 months.
Yeah.
Because you just invested all that time, but then at 6 months, you're like, you know what? Fuck it. It's not going anywhere.
This is not working.
Yeah. I definitely tried. All I could.
Who knows? Maybe at the 6 month point, we'll break up the podcast forever.
Who knows? You'll have to stay tuned to find out.
It's true. You'll have to see every single one, and you'll have to watch all of our coverage of Last Gen.
Yes. I think there's 800 plays on The Secret of Mana. So go watch it. Share with your friends. Share with your mom. Share with your pop.
He probably knows very little about the game. He'd love to learn about it.
Yeah. Share with pop. Sit on his lap while he watches it.
Papa, let me up on your lap. I want to show you something. And then load it up on your little smartphone.
How do you work this thing? And then you show him.
Oh, Mana, eh?
I remember this game.
I've heard of this. I can't wait to learn what these sharp boys have to say.
All the bitches used to love this game.
This was what got them going.
So if you want bitches and you want to learn about Secret of Mana, then go watch the video. When I say bitches, it's gender inclusive. Everyone's a bitch.
You can be a boy bitch.
Take it from me.
Take it from me. You can absolutely be a boy bitch.
Spencer, what are you playing this week?
Well, I booted up Marvel's Avengers for the first time since launch.
Oh my gosh, so much content in your face.
I know. It was like, here's this and this and
all
this.
these
and
alerts.
Like,
press X.
It was like, you have currency, you have this. This DLC's at it. I'm like, oh my god, I just want to play as Hawkeye, dude. What's going on? So I started that because I have a mixed relationship with that game. I like a lot of things about it, but the things that I don't like about it make me not want to play it more.
Mm.
So like the whole as a service game thing feels totally out of place, but the single player linear parts and some multiplayer are really fun. So I was like, okay, let's try this DLC, see how it's going. So I did both DLCs, both Hawkeyes. The first one was a lot of the stuff that I'm not huge on, like here's a big area and then a hallway with robots, and then you have to press number buttons. And I was like, oh, okay, this is the kind of stuff that isn't that fun to play by yourself. But then the second one, the most recent DLC, the Hawkeye one, was actually a lot of fun. It was fairly linear and story based. I could do it all on my own pretty easily. And I'm playing on the PS5 now. So like the sensation of like drawing an arrow is really cool on the triggers because there's like that resistance. So it's like you're actually doing it in a way. So I was quite pleased to find that the new DLC was the direction I hope this game goes in the future, because it felt a lot more fun overall, I'd say.
Now, we didn't talk about this before the podcast either, because I didn't know you've been playing this game, but maybe you and I can team up this weekend.
Maybe we can
play some Avengers together.
It's true. Who do you play as?
I don't know. I haven't played that game in a very long time.
Yeah. Well, now there's 2 Hawkeyes, so we can
I'll be
anybody.
I'll be one of them.
It's but overall, it's more fun, I think, than it's. I'd say this is the direction I really hope it goes, because it's more fun than like all the missions they want you to do, like squad loot missions, and it's like they just increase numbers. I don't care. But for this, it was like, oh, it's like a fairly interesting story, and it feels like actual progression. So, yeah, it's. I'd recommend if people own it, especially if you can play the PS5 one, because the load times are cut and the frame rate's way nicer. Nice. It's a good time to go back and try the new DLC, because it's actually pretty fun.
I think Crystal Dynamics develops this, right?
Yeah.
Just gonna say it. They could be doing better.
They could. Although I'm mixed on the Tomb Raiders.
Soul Reaver. They can give us a new Soul Reaver. That's all. Actually, that's all I really want. Is a new Soul
Reaver. That's better. Just do Soul Reaver.
Yeah. Remember the other week where Taiko, I think it's Taiko, they announced that they're doing a partnership with Square. They're developing some games with Square, and then everyone was like, "What's Taiko working on? Is it a new RPG? Is it this new?" And it's fucking Gradius.
Yep.
Or Darius. Sorry, Darius.
Getting excited about game announcements.
And Bubble Bobble, or I think it's
it's like there's no reason to get excited anymore. You never. It's always something small. Here's like when Square Enix was like, we're looking at remaking our old games. I was like, they're not going to do the ones you want. They're not doing Parasite Eve. They're not doing Xenogears. They're not doing Vagrant
Story.
Story.
They don't give a shit about Parasite Eve.
They're going to do like Chocobo Racing, and that's it.
Yeah, they did Mystery Dungeon. Very strange.
Yeah.
Very strange.
Very strange.
I mean, I like that game, and that's another reason why I think they're just doing things for me personally.
It seems like
they're not going to make any sales that way.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Yeah, I thought it was funny where you had like publications doing these lists. Here's the 5 games that Taiko could be working on. And
yeah, and then it's all just
your clickbait shit out of here.
Yeah, don't get people excited.
All I really want is Gex. I'd take a Gex.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure that would be amazing. I'm sure that would go just as well as it did back then.
Everybody loves pop culture and everyone loves platformers.
Exactly. They can reference modern day things. Don't you want to see Gex make quips about Trump and Biden?
Don't you want to see Gex get canceled?
Yeah. Oh man, there's a whole level where you have to ascend his Twitter feed. It's
And you
perfect.
have to choose keywords to write in to search his past history.
Yeah, you have to delete his tweets. You have to hit the delete
call,
key on his
call him
tweets.
out, call him out for things he said when he was 10.
Just a bunch of Gex quotes. You have to call him out. Gex gets I don't know what a catchy title would be, but that'd be a brilliant game.
Gex gets
These are free
canceled.
ideas.
Oh my gosh. It's just Gex colon canceled.
Gets canceled, and then he shoots with his cool little remote control. He shoots the shape of a Twitter bird,
Yeah.
and then it's going to be an amazing game, and it's a free idea. You guys can take that one.
You guys can just pitch that to Square. I know they need it most
They
of
need
all.
it.
But
Yeah, what have you
Weaver.
been playing?
Oh yeah, me. I've been playing. What did I say I was playing earlier?
You said you were
Oh
playing.
yes. I remember. Root Film.
Yeah. How's
I
that?
played Root Film. By the time this episode goes out, the review should be out. So on noisypixel.net. So if you want, you could just check it out there. But I'll expand. Okay. So this game is about a director who is directing a film, and there's like this curse that's following the film that happened 10 years before, and then he kind of has to crack the code a little bit. But this first mission, the way that they set it up, it's like it's a big joke. And that in general kind of just killed it for me. Like the whole like, oh, it was just a test to see if you can direct the film, if we want you to be one of the directors for like this competition that we're kind of having, and now you get to choose your actress, blah blah blah. The problem with it is if you're creating a detective mystery visual novel, well, the mystery is supposed to happen in the beginning, and then you take the game to resolve it, you know?
Yeah.
And then stuff happens along the way that makes you question exactly how that mystery even occurred. So the whole basis of a cursed film, really cool.
Yeah.
Right? But then when you downplay it and then downplay it further with the following few chapters, not having anything to do with that, still involving death in some ways. So the theme of death still plays in the chapters, but not having anything to do with that. It makes it feel like you're just this random director guy who just likes getting in the way of real detectives because he's kind of like in all these places where people die, and then he just solves it. But why? There's no incentives. He's not getting paid for it. Nothing's happening for him if he solves it. He's just doing it.
Yeah.
So that really hurt the first half of the game. Now the second half of the game, it gets better. Which makes me think that maybe I just count the first half as fluff, but nobody would get to the second half if you can't get over these weird missions and these weird first chapters. And you play as two people. You play as an actress or you play as a detective, and you get to choose the order. But I don't know. It would have been better if you played an actual detective, or maybe I don't know, a security guard on the crew or something. It's just having the director be like this ace attorney type, it just didn't make sense.
Yeah, it's not a career path that makes you think, oh, he's investigating.
Yeah. It's the game itself is stylish as hell. All the characters are really cool. You'll just constantly be asking, why am I playing this? And
yeah, that's a bad sign.
Yeah, that's where I was at. I thought everything was cool. I thought the voice acting was great, but I didn't want to play it anymore. There was several times in the first 3 chapters of each character's route that I just put it down and walked away. Like I was like, man, I'm not going anywhere. And there's no direction, so they have all these points on the map, and they don't tell you. Only sometimes do they tell you in the scene before, oh, we should go here. But they normally don't, and you kind of just have to guess where you need to go next. So you're oftentimes just going through all of them until you
Yeah.
can find where to progress the narrative.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a mixed experience.
Yeah.
Like it
Um,
doesn't reach what it could do if the whole thing was like the second half.
yeah. The conclusion's really good. So if you do have the game root film, just stick through it. Um, and the game does get better, and the connections between the two main characters comes together sooner or later.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So worth checking out on a sale, maybe
$20.
$20.
20
That's not
bucks.
bad. That's respectable.
Yeah.
Lots of good $20 games.
Yeah. I paid $20 for it.
Nice.
Um, Other than that, I think maybe we can jump into our discussion for the week.
Let's do it.
This is based off of a rumor that might not even be true, but I want to humor us
Yeah.
in this topic. Excuse me. Of whether or not Sony shuts down the PS3, PS Vita, and PSP stores, how that would look for the future of video games. Now, I'll preface this with, let's keep in mind that Nintendo shut down the Wii shop.
Hmm.
So right now, there's no digital games on Wii. You can't buy digital games. I think in like some South American countries, they even shut down the 3DS shop already.
Really?
Yeah, not in the
Wow.
bigger ones, but some of the smaller ones. I think it still works in Brazil, and that might be it. But
Yeah.
I was
That's
looking into it,
strange.
and it's like called limited buy, where you can still download your games, but you cannot buy any games from like a limited version of the 3DS eShop or for some South
That
American.
is strange.
Yeah. So, with that said, I want to pass the question over to you to where, how do you see the future in gaming, digitally or physically, how this affects gamers in general?
I think it's a I'm of two minds because it makes sense that eventually they have to shut down the PS3 and PSP shops. Like
Yeah, definitely.
they can't stay up forever, but at the same time, like there's so many games that are still only available there. Um, PlayStation has made their stance on backwards compatibility very clear. They aren't huge on it, and they say that it's not something that a lot of people use, which that's like a whole other thing. But it's there's a lot of really good games that are kind of trapped on the PS3. Um, and even putting that aside, like the Vita still gets game releases.
Hmm.
So by getting rid of the store, like that's the part that makes me think it's probably not real.
Yeah.
Is that like there are still people developing games on the Vita, like
Yeah.
not Sony, but there's studios that are doing it. So it seems weird to me that they would get rid of all three stores at once,
Hmm.
since the Vita is a lot more recent than the PS3 or the PSP. But I think there's it's disappointing because there are a lot of good games that are only accessible right now through certain systems, but it's still kind of inevitable. I'm not sure what the solution would be, like maybe to make um the PS1 classics and that kind of thing make a comeback on the PS5 so that people can play these games still without losing it necessarily, and it would be linked through your PSN or whatever. But because if they don't do that, then a lot of games will be tough to play now, and I think that's like that just sucks. It's understandable, but it sucks.
Yeah. The great thing about digital games for, okay, using like a 13-year-old nephew
Mhm.
who wants to play Suikoden II. Well, you ain't gonna pay $250, $300 for
Yeah,
Suikoden 2, but on the PS3, it's like what, $15, $20?
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Um, Having access to video games that way and being able to directly support the the developer and publisher. I mean, people like to say, "Oh, you can't. There's no real way. That's why we emulate." No, there are some ways. Um, Surprisingly, like even Sony with the PS4 and they had the PS2 classics and stuff like that, where they did
Yeah,
like Rogue Galaxy, I think, and
they had a bunch
Wild
of Star
Arms.
Wars games and a bunch of Rockstar games and Wild
It's
Arms.
yeah, it's super weird that they just stopped though.
Yeah, it's so strange because they didn't even cover all the PS2 games that they had on PS3.
Yeah,
So there was a bunch of like fairly substantial games missing, like the Shin Megami Tensei games and like the Castlevania games and like small stuff like Tulip, like all these weird games that it would be great to get to a new audience, but they stopped doing it, which is why
yeah,
I'm not hopeful that they might start it again.
yeah. I would. It definitely sucks for newer generations because I know personally how much it sucks as a lover of video games to where if I want to play Clock Tower,
Yeah,
either I download it or I spend $300 and buy it on PlayStation. Those are my two options.
yeah,
Um, and at one point I used option two and I bought it, but there's games like Kuon where I'll never play. I mean, it's six
yeah.
hundred dollars. I'll never play that game ever,
Hmm.
and that sucks. I so I do not want any generation after me to have to deal with that. To have to
Yeah, that's
deal
fair.
with having only steal it or spend $200 right now on PSP. Shin Megami Tensei is $110
Yeah,
physical. On the PSN store, it's 19.99.
yeah,
So,
exactly. It's
so
so much more accessible.
that's where I'm at. Like, I don't want future generations to have to deal with that kind of stuff. And it definitely sucks if they go through with this without any options. The PS5 is basically a computer anyway. You're telling me there is no way for you to release your games when Xbox Series X can easily do it. And you know what? People are already turning Xbox Series X into an emulator machine.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
they're playing somebody got an N64 game running on there at one point.
Wow.
Yeah, they're going nuts with it. And so you're telling me that the Xbox can do that, play Xbox 360, Xbox One games, can do all that, but the PS5 can't play a fucking PS2 disc.
Yeah, exactly.
Are
Or
you
like
kidding me?
emulate a PS1 game. Like,
Or emulate a goddamn PS1 game. You know what? I give it up to them though because the PS3 is one of the best
it is.
PlayStation emulators. So if you're trying to play the best version of a PlayStation game that you can without modding a PlayStation or getting all this weird control stuff, just get a PS3 Slim, and
Yeah.
that's great on your modern TV. It looks amazing.
A ton of really great games reported for it. Like even like licensed games on PS1 and 2 were done. So it's a fantastic way to do it. So do it while you can.
Yeah, and yeah, I hope there's just pieces in place to make this um I mean, you got to sell PS5s, right?
Yeah.
But how are you people are still holding on to their PS4 games. I haven't bought a PS5 game since I bought a PS5.
Same here.
Um and you're telling me that I'm not going to be able to play like Vita games? I don't
Yeah,
think the rumor is true. I don't think the
I don't
rumor is
either.
true. Um I don't necessarily trust we have sources um
That's fair.
especially from that publication.
Throwing shade.
Who the hell are you? Your name isn't Jason Schreier.
Unless I hear this from Jason, I don't believe it.
I don't know. I don't know you.
You're not Wario 64.
Not freaking Wario 64. Um, yeah, I'm definitely in that camp to where I think it's fake, but it definitely brings up the issue of if it happens, what the hell is Sony gonna do?
Yeah.
I'm really wondering how future generations are ever gonna play because I mean if you think about it, gaming is still super young, right?
Yeah.
We have like 30 years in this industry, really. A little over 30 years. I'm gonna say
Yeah.
35. I'm gonna say around 35. I
Yeah,
mean,
35. That seems
you
fair.
can do the Commodore and all that, but I'm counting from like Nintendo.
Pong ass stuff.
Yeah, Pong ass
Who
stuff.
cares?
Um, but yeah, so I'm gonna say like around 35 for like huge gaming. I mean, you can even say Atari, but regardless,
Yeah,
regardless, it's still young.
it
And
is.
I think when the digital age started, we're like, oh yeah, game preservation, blah 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 blah. And then the licensing started kicking in, and everyone
Yep.
was like, oh shit, like there's more to this than we know. I mean, once a license is up, it has to be taken down. Um, there are several games that have been taken off of the eShop too because of licensing deals.
Yeah.
And I don't think that game preservation is good in the hands of digital um, sales or digital gaming. I don't feel when I buy a game digitally, I don't feel like I own it.
It's true. It feels like I'm renting it for a long period of time.
Yeah, yeah, it's like you're just renting some space on your
Yeah.
console. Um, and that's definitely why I go physical. And I'll say it here now that when that announcement happened, I spent $350 on PSP games.
That's a good move.
I am not going to pay inflated prices. I mean, there were the most expensive one I bought was like $60, but and it was Wild Arms, for PSP.
Yeah.
But um, the other games, just because if they shut it down and those prices go up, I'll never be able to play those games.
It's true. There's a lot of games that'll just be like completely impossible to get.
Yeah, and there's so many that I really want to play. For all you PSP nerds out there, Final Fantasy 1, 2, and 4 are available on PSP in the West, but Final Fantasy 3 on PSP is available in Japan, but it has English subs. And so if you buy that version,
I have it. I have the English one. I won it in a contest.
Final Fantasy 3,
3, yeah, on PSP.
oh my gosh.
They had like a Twitter contest and you had to answer a question in a DM. So I think it was released at some point.
Okay, well, I imported the Japanese version. If Spencer has some rare ass thing, you can
Some rare
expect
ass
me
digital one.
you could expect me to freak out. But oh, whoa, it was a digital game?
Yeah.
Okay, so I bought
It's
the
not
physical.
physical.
I bought the
Yeah.
physical version.
Yeah, then that's the real one.
Oh, okay. But if you import it, it's you can get the English version from the Japanese import.
Yeah.
So you can have them nice 1, 2, 3, 4, the complete whatever story.
If you're really itching to play 3.
Yeah. And yeah. Is that the one where it starts off with the meteor coming down?
I think
The
it's the
Chocobo
one
guy?
with the cloud of no, that's it's the one with the cloud of darkness where all the dungeons are really hard and there's barely any save points and you play as Lunith.
I think I'm referring to 6 or 5.
5 has Bart's and he has the chocobo.
Yeah, and the meteor hits, and then you're the
Yeah.
chocobo guy. Yeah, that one has a nice twist in it. But that one 5 is so standard Final Fantasy though. You just find the crystals, and it's just so
It's
Final
charming
Fantasy.
though.
It's so Final. Is that the one with the pirate and the girl pirate, and then
Oh yeah, that's
or
5.
the guy pirate, but
But it's not a guy.
he's not a guy. Spoilers.
It's not a guy. She's in World of Final Fantasy. Mm.
Man, we just spoiled
A very old
the
game.
biggest reveal of that game.
Sorry, guys.
um, but yeah, so I did spend a lot of money on PSP games just because just the idea of not being able to play those games really hurt me. And Atlas launched a lot of good games on the PSP, and no one
True.
collects for the PSP. So you can get them for like 20, $30 right now.
Yeah, it's good. Those UMDs,
Yeah.
they're very nice.
Nobody really cares about PSP except for Persona. If you want Persona, you're going to pay $100.
Yeah, it's true.
And I'm not, I would rather play Parasite Eve now that you mentioned it.
It's true. You could have got that as long as the store's open. You can get that on PS3 and PSP.
Yeah. And then the third birthday's on PSP.
It's true.
And you can get some nice, there's a bathing suit DLC in there.
Naturally.
And there's a shower scene.
All I remember about that game is that it had like a DLC costume for Dissidia where you could be like Lightning Eye of Bree. And as a kid, I was like, what is this?
And then if you get hit, it like costume breaks.
Yeah, the costume breaks.
You just see tit and ass. But it's like super polygon tit and ass.
Yeah. Because it's on the PSP. So you can only, yeah.
You know what was also released on the PSP is Type 0.
It's true.
People know that. It did come to PS4 eventually in the West, but I'm just going to say it. That game's dope.
It is dope. I played it for the first time this year. Or I guess last year. And
I cheated playing it, but I went to the training and I just
you moved the clock. Oh, you cheater!
You know what? I mean, I did that because I have like really bad like completionist OCD to where I don't want to progress unless I complete all the missions. But some of the early missions will be like you need to be level 60 to and I couldn't like the side missions. I couldn't deal with it, dude. It's
because the game wants you to play it twice.
Yeah. And I couldn't wrap my head around it, and I freaked out, and I did do that the story though, man, there's that scene where the gun and the and like
it's really gory. It's like the first cutscene has like a dead chocobo getting like shot, and you're like,
oh
my god.
If you want to play like a traditional like Final Fantasy game, unlike any Final Fantasy that's come out recently, play Type 0. It has an open world map.
Yeah.
It has weird ass strategy tactics. Dungeons. Got the dungeons, towns,
chocobo breeding, towns.
Tons of towns.
It's a really cool game, and it's very cheap on PS4 if you don't want to hunt down the Japanese PSP version.
Yeah. Well, this spiraled to a Final Fantasy talk.
Yeah, this just turned into a Final Fantasy talk, which is fine with me.
Sorry about that. But dialing it back, there's a lot of great games on PS3 and PSP that I would hate to just see.
Yeah. Shuhei Yoshida, please let my hypothetical future children play Digital Devil Saga somehow, please.
For $20, for less than $100.
Yeah, for less than $100, please. Thank you.
And well, that's all I got to say about that.
Same here.
All right. Well, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone.